Day 113, April 23. Today for the one-year Bible, folks, Judges chapter 1, verse 1 through chapter 2, verse 9. So starting a new book there. Then we've got Luke 21, verse 29 through 22, verse 13. Psalms 90, verse 1 through chapter 90, verse 91, verse 16. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24 through 25. So today we're starting the book of Judges. Book of Judges is, man, I did a study through this some years ago. Went verse by verse, just picked it apart. Every nit and tittle of it. Nit and tittle, I don't even know who says that. I went through every bit of it. And oh man, there were some really cool things that were encouraging there. There were some really dark, kind of sad and depressing things there. Then some stark warnings for us. I can see where our nation is getting very close to a Judges type scenario. So it's very intriguing. Incredible book. Just to set it up for you guys, giving you a little bit of extra. Book of Judges comes. You've got the Israelites. They come out of the wilderness. They've come into the Promised Land, and with Joshua, they begin taking back the Promised Land. They're winning battle after battle. All the Canaanites, the Perizzites, all the ites, they're all leaving, and Israel's coming in and taking her land back. But then things change, and it kind of sets it up right here. Let's look at Judges chapter 1, verse 27. Manasseh did not drive out the inhabitants of Bethshean and its villages, or this other place and its villages, or the inhabitants of Dor and its villages, or the inhabitants of Abilam and its villages, the inhabitants of, and it just lists off all this stuff. When Israel grew strong, they put the Canaanites to forced labor, but did not drive them out completely. See, the Lord said, get rid of it completely. Drive them out completely. But they're like, no, we'll keep them around. They're good for work. We just won't do what they do. And that downfall of Israel, it starts right here in Judges. It starts with this partial obedience. They were partially obedient and took the land, but then they began to compromise on God's truth. God's truth was all of this land was 100% for them, not for anybody else, for Israel. And they began to compromise. They began to just settle for a little bit. We'll share. We'll do this. We'll let the enemy in just a little bit. I mean, they're not that bad. They're just a little bad, not that bad. And begin compromising. And in the book of Judges, we see this downward spiral. Judges can also be translated from the original Hebrew as this word, and this is so cool. Savior. Not Savior with a capital S like Jesus Christ is Savior, but lowercase s, like they saved the day. And so, through the book of Judges, we're going to see these little saviors, these people coming to save Israel. But a person could never save even a nation. They save it for a moment, but then it falls back worse. Then they save it for a moment, then it falls back even worse. Save it for a moment, and even worse. And we see this downward spiral setting up the stage to where man realizes, you know what? We need a Savior. But you'll see this word in there. They say, and there was no king. God was their king. But they say there was no king. And so then you have the book of Kings coming later down the pipeline. And so they realize, well, we can't just have a human savior. We need a king. Well, then they realize a king isn't cutting it. They don't need an earthly savior. They don't need an earthly king. And it sets up the gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, for bringing in a God Savior and a God King who can save eternally and reign forever. The book of Judges is flippin' awesome. But the lesson I want to take from today is this. Don't compromise on God's truth, not even a little bit. When you start giving just a little foothold to the enemy, very slowly he'll take over sections of your heart. And before long, you'll be found in captivity. You'll be found in some very, very dark and destructive places. Take care, guys.